Hey YouTube, Pokemon Trainer Harry Ghost here, and today I am bringing a very fun Mega Dragonite team. Mega Dragonite is a very cool and interesting Pokemon. It goes from being a physical attacker in its base form to being a special attacker as a Mega Evolution, and it gets a pretty high base 145 base special attack to complement it with strong stabs like Draco Meteor and Hurricane. Dragonite hits extremely hard. But yeah, there is some opportunity cost I feel like with using Dragonite because as I said, its strongest stabs does not have perfect accuracy and are prone to missing. With Rain you can offset the Hurricane accuracy drop, but Draco Meteor accuracy drop is still a big issue, which is why I feel like Mega Dragonite is not seen all that commonly, like Mega Charizard Y and Mega Floette. All these Mega Evolutions are pretty dominant. Mega Dragonite is not that common because of its accuracy issues, and it is not the fastest. Like it has 100 base speed, which is pretty fast, but it is not the fastest. But yeah, Mega Dragonite is still a very powerful and a very interesting Pokemon, which we will hopefully be able to see in this video. So yeah, as you can see from the team preview screen, I am running Dragonite, Leftover Sinistcha, White Herb Sneasler, Mystic Water Palafin, Citrus Berry Incineroar, and Focus Sash Pelipper. So yeah, let's just jump right into the battles. So my first opponent, Nose, is running a Mega Dragonite of their own, which is pretty cool to see other people trying out Mega Dragonite because as I said, Mega Dragonite is not the most popular Mega Evolution choice in the world. Like people are spamming Mega Charizard Y, Mega Floette. Mega Dragonite is not the most popular Pokemon. But yeah, my opponent does lead off with their Sneasler and Dragonite as I lead off with my Incineroar and my own Dragonite. Intimidate doesn't affect the opposing Dragonite because of inner focus, which probably doesn't even matter because they are probably Mega Dragonite because there is no other Pokemon on their team which can Mega Evolve. And the White Hub on the Sneasler negates the Intimidate drop as well. Now this turn my opponent has Fake Out Pressure, and Fake Out plus a Dragon Stab into my own Dragonite will do a lot of damage, if not outright KO my Dragonite. So I protect with my Dragonite and switch in my own Fake Out Pressure with Sneasler. My opponent Mega Evolves their Dragonite into Mega Dragonite as predicted as I click Protect with my Dragonite. My opponent goes for Fake Out into the Incineroar slot and clicks Tailwind, which is scary because now my opponent can double target my Dragonite, break the multi-scale and destroy my own Dragonite. However, I am not going to let that happen. I brought out Sneasler for Fake Out Pressure, and predicting the Fake Out Pressure, my opponent switches out their Sneasler into the Pelipper to set up the rain so that they have guaranteed Hurricane in the rain. As I Mega Evolve my Dragonite into Mega Dragonite, I have Fake Out Pressure, and with multi-scale I should be able to live a Draco Meteor from my opponent's Mega Dragonite. But predicting the Fake Out Pressure, my opponent goes for Protect with their Dragonite. I Fake Out into the Sneasler slot, and Fake Out plus Hurricane is able to destroy that Pelipper. Even if it is Focus Sash Pelipper, Fake Out plus Hurricane is able to KO that Pelipper on the switch in. Now my opponent switches in their next Pokemon, which is going to be Archaludon, as once again because my opponent has Tailwind set up, they are at the speed advantage, and this turn everybody is threatening everybody. Sneasler is threatening Archaludon with close combat, their Dragonite is threatening my Sneasler with Hurricane, my Dragonite is threatening their Dragonite with Draco Meteor, and their Archaludon and Dragonite are threatening my own Dragonite. So basically my opponent clicks Protect with their Archaludon as I click Protect with my Dragonite, trying to essentially stalk out what my opponent is doing, is going to choose. My opponent clicks protect, and so close combat doesn't affect the Archaludon because of the protect. And this turn my opponent switches out their Archaludon into Sneasler, trying to take the close combat, as I switch out my Dragonite, trying to take the Dragon Pulse. Now Dragon Pulse does do a decent amount of damage, and close combat from my Sneasler does so much damage to the opposing Sneasler, because we do end up getting a critical hit, and in doing so we also activate our Unburden. So now we are faster than the opposing Dragonite because of Unburden, even with their Tailwind setup. This turn my opponent has Fake Out Pressure of their own, as I brought out my own Incineroar for Fake Out Pressure, but obviously Sneasler does outspeed Incineroar even outside of Tailwind. So my opponent goes for Fake Out into the Incineroar slot, as I go for Dire Claw into the Dragonite slot, trying to break the multi-scale on my opponent's Dragonite, and my opponent's Dragonite does knock out my Sneasler with Hurricane. So down goes my Sneasler, and now we bring in our next Pokemon, which is going to be our Dragonite, because we do threaten both the Sneasler and Dragonite with our stab attacks, Draco Meteor and Hurricane. We do click Draco Meteor into the Dragonite slot, and we switch out our Incineroar into our Sinistcha, trying to take the close combat which my opponent is probably going to click into my Incineroar slot, trying to knock out my Incineroar. So we switch out our Sinistcha into the Incineroar slot, but my opponent goes for Dire Claw, trying to break my own multi-scale. The Tailwind had ended last turn, and because we are timid max speed Dragonite, we do outspeed the opposing Dragonite and are able to not one hit KO, but are able to KO the Dragonite on my opponent's side. Their Dragonite is probably modest because they do have Tailwind on their own Dragonite, or if not, if they are timid max speed, then we just got lucky. Dire Claw did poison me, however, that is fine. This turn I switch out my Dragonite into Incineroar, trying to lower my opponent's Sneasler's offensive pressure even more, and to reset my own Draco Meteor special attack drops. And I click Life Dew with my Sinistcha. In case I do take some damage with my Sinistcha, I will be able to regain all the health lost through any attacks incoming onto the Sinistcha, and will be able to regain some health on my Incineroar as well. My opponent has the dark coverage in Throat Chop and does a decent amount of damage, and Draco Meteor from my opponent's Archaludon does not KO my Incineroar, brings me down to the red, but does not KO me, as we do eat our Citrus Berry and regain our health through Life Dew as well. So after the leftovers recovery, we are essentially back to full with our Sinistcha. And now my opponent is at -1 attack on Sneasler and -2 special attack on Archaludon, so my opponent clicks the forfeit button. Now my next opponent's son is unironically running a rain team, and they do have a Dragonite of their own, so hopefully they are also a Mega Dragonite team, which will be pretty cool to see another Mega Dragonite player on the ladder. My opponent leads off with Basculegion and Archaludon, as I lead off with my Incineroar and Palafin. Now this turn I do click Flip Turn into my Palafin, trying to activate my 0 to hero ability, and we do click Darkest Lariat into the Basculegion as well, because Basculegion is a very scary Pokemon and I want to knock it out as soon as possible. So Flip Turn into my opponent's Basculegion will deal damage, which hopefully I will be able to KO this Basculegion after the Clifton chip. Thankfully, since we did leave the Archaludon free to attack any of my Pokemon, it was pretty scary, but thankfully my opponent did switch out the Archaludon into their Pelipper to set up the rain, as we do flip turn into our Dragonite, trying to Mega Evolve and start doing some damage, as my opponent flip turns with their own Basculegion do so much damage to my Incineroar and bring in their next Pokemon, which is going to be the Archaludon. So in comes my opponent Archaludon, and so now my opponent can start the Electroshock boosting and everything. And so this Archaludon could potentially be extremely scary. So I need to deal with this Pelipper as soon as possible to get rid of the rain as soon as possible. Even though rain does benefit me, but Archaludon with Electroshock, we have already complained about Archaludon a lot, and Archaludon is extremely scary with so many rain turns. So we Mega Evolve with my Dragonite into Mega Dragonite. My opponent fears a stab Draco Meteor into the Archaludon slot and clicks Protect with their Archaludon, and predicting that we do not attack the Archaludon, we attack the Pelipper, because as I said, I need to get rid of this Pelipper to get rid of potential rains later on in the battle. And my opponent sets up the Tailwind as we parting shot into the Pelipper slot, trying to lower its offensive potential. And now we bring in our Sneasler. Now we have Fake Out Pressure of our own active right now. So we click Fake Out into the Pelipper to knock it out, and Draco Meteor into the Archaludon slot, not Basculegion. The Archaludon slot to get rid of the Archaludon, because I know behind multi-scale I should be able to live a stabbed even Draco Meteor from the Archaludon. Dragonite will be able to live. So we do target the Archaludon this turn, Fake Out KOs the Pelipper, and my opponent does not target the Dragonite this turn. They decide to target the Sneasler with Electroshock, trying to boost their special attack, but Sneasler is able to live the Electroshock and live at 8 HP as we KO the Archaludon with Stab Draco Meteor. So we do knock out 2 Pokemon of my opponent on this turn, and my opponent is left with only 2 Pokemon. My opponent switches in the Basculegion and their last Pokemon, which is going to be the Dragonite. So in come my opponent's Basculegion and Dragonite. So we switch in our Incineroar to intimidate the Basculegion, and we switch in our Palafin to get rid of these special attack drops on my own Dragonite. Palafin is a pretty cool Pokemon. It hits extremely hard with Mystic Water, and the rain is set up as well, but unfortunately it got overshadowed pretty quickly. Like, it was a decent threat in regulations, in the earlier regulations of Scarlet and Violet, but unfortunately it got overshadowed by Urshifu once Urshifu rejoined in Generation 9, and then Basculegion also appeared and took the spotlight from Palafin. But I am the one guy on the ladder running Palafin, because Palafin does indeed have pretty good stats as well. It has 160 base attack, which is the highest base attack amongst all water type Pokemon, tied with Mega Feraligatr. My opponent Mega evolves their Dragonite into Mega Dragonite, clicks Last Respect, but because of the Intimidate we are able to live the 150 base power Last Respects. Hurricane does not knock out my Incineroar as well, so we do have Fake Out Pressure active. And so this turn, because I do threaten the Fake Out into my opponent's Dragonite, and my opponent does threaten my own Palafin with last respects, I click protect with my Palafin to scout out the last respects on my opponent's part. As my opponent's Dragonite does click protect as well, trying to avoid the fake out damage and get their multi-skill broken. Last respects is blocked by my Palafin's protect, as we did protect the protect and we went for darkest radiant into the Basque Legion, but Basque Legion is so bulky with its 120 base HP, it is able to live so many attacks. And but thankfully we do have priority Jet Punch, and Jet Punch will be able to KO this Basque Legion. Even if my opponent does have Aqua Jet, which if they are not Choice Scarf Basque Legion, Palafin does outspeed Basque Legion outside of rain. If they are swim outside of rain, we do outspeed the Basque Legion, and so Jet Punch is able to KO the Basque Legion. Hurricane is able to KO my Palafin, but Palafin did do work in this battle. It didn't do the most amount of work because it didn't get the chance to click rain boosted mystic, water boosted wave crashes, but it did click flip turn and Jet Punch did come handy. We do click parting shot into my opponent's Dragonite to lower its offensive potential, and we switch out our Sneasler for fake out pressure and switch out our Dragonite to threaten their Dragonite. Fake out is active this turn, and so my opponent decides to go for protect this turn to scout out the fake out, because they would not want their multi-skill to be broken by fake out. So my opponent does go for fake out, and fake out gets blocked and Draco Meteor gets blocked. Now the next turn I do outspeed my opponent's Dragonite with Sneasler and potentially outspeed my opponent's Dragonite with my own Dragonite if they are modest Dragonite, because they do have Tailwind. I mean, I have Tailwind as well on my own Pelipper, but I am still timid max speed Dragonite. Dire Claw is able to break my opponent's multi-skill, and we do outspeed the Dragonite on my opponent's side and KO it with Draco Meteor. So down goes my opponent's Mega Dragonite. And so yeah, we are able to win this battle, defeating Sun, which yeah, it was pretty unironic that we fought Sun, who is running a rain team. My next opponent, Shikiuro, is running a Sun team now. So yeah, we have weather war in this battle. My opponent leads off with Charizard Venusaur, which is a typical Sun lead, as we do lead off with our Incineroar and Dragonite. Now this turn I do have Fake Out active, and so I know that my opponent is going to double protect to scout out the Fake Out, as exactly what they do. They click protect with their Charizard, and I click protect with my Dragonite as well, because I don't want to take any unnecessary damage, and they click protect with their Venusaur as well. I knew that fake out will not work, so I just click parting shot in case my opponent did not go for double protect with their Pokemon. Parting shot would lower my opponent's offensive potential. Now this turn, unfortunately, I forget to Mega Evolve with my Dragonite, as you saw from the turn selection. I forgot to Mega Evolve with my Dragonite. Switch in my Palafin because my opponent did not Mega Evolve with their Mega Charizard Y, so I cannot switch in my Pelipper to change the weather. They activate the Drought, get the Chlorophyll activated on their Venusaur. As I said, I forgot to click Mega Evolution, unfortunately, so we do take a lot more damage, which we potentially would have avoided if we just Mega Evolved. Hurricane is able to miss because in Sun it is just 50% accurate, so my opponent is able to dodge the Hurricane. Now my opponent did Mega Evolve with their Charizard, so I can switch in my Pelipper to set up the rain on my own side. Mega Evolve with my Dragonite finally, which unfortunately, as I said, we are at pretty low health because we did get poisoned by Sludge Bomb as well. So we are slowly losing our health on our Mega Dragonite. Hurricane is able to bring down the Venusaur onto its focus sash, as my opponent goes for Air Slash into the Palafin slot, trying to knock out my Palafin, and Air Slash plus Energy Ball combination is able to KO the Pelipper, but Pelipper is the sacrifice we needed to get this team to work, because now we have Rain setup and we have Palafin, Hero from Palafin in the Rain with Mystic Water. There is no switch into Palafin because Palafin does hit extremely hard. Like, I did showcase a bulk up Jet Punch Palafin in that Pikachu and Friends video I made in Regulation H, or I think it was Regulation F, sorry, not Regulation H. But yeah, in that Regulation F video, that Pikachu and Friends, even with bulk up Jet Punch, Palafin does so much damage. And this is Wave Crash, Mystic Water Rain boosted Palafin. Wave Crash, there is absolutely no switch in. Wave Crash dominates the Garchomp on the switch in. One hit KOs the Garchomp on the switch in. And down goes my opponent's Garchomp. And we do switch out our Dragonite, trying to save it as essentially sacrificial fodder at this point, because I know that Dragonite will not be able to do much anymore because it is at very low health. We do have Fake Out active this turn, so we do click Fake Out into the Charizard, as my opponent's Venusaur did protect last turn. So we do, unless my opponent gets the double protect, which if they get the double protect then God bless dude, but hopefully my opponent's Venusaur does not get the double protect. So we click Fake Out into my opponent's Charizard slot and Jet Punch into my opponent's Venusaur slot. So yeah, my opponent does not try to double protect and goes down with their Venusaur due to the Jet Punch, and their Charizard is faked out by my Incineroar. Charizard flinches as their last Pokemon is Basculegion, because Basculegion is such a good Pokemon. I mean, I don't hate Basculegion, but I am just disgusted by how broken and how easy Basculegion is. Like, I do not hate any Pokemon, even Goldengo I do not hate, even though I am disgusted by Goldengo a lot. I do not hate Goldengo. It is a pretty cool Pokemon. So yeah, anyways, I am rambling. I do click Protect with trying to scout out what my opponent's Basculegion is going to do. My opponent's Basculegion goes for Last Respect into my Palafin, as we are able to protect ourselves, and Darkest Lariat is unable to KO the Basculegion on my opponent's side. We did avoid the Air Slash on my Incineroar from my Charizard. I forgot to mention that. Here is where my Dragonite sacrifice will come through, as my opponent goes for Last Respects into my Incineroar slot and Solar Beam. Instead of Palafin going down to Solar Beam, Dragonite goes down to Solar Beam. With just 8 HP, my sacrificial fodder does come through, and we are able to KO the Basculegion with Darkest Lariat. So down goes my opponent's Basculegion, and we are left with Palafin and Incineroar. Now both Palafin and Charizard have the same base speed, so this could potentially be a speed tie, and so I know that Solar Beam will KO my Palafin, so I do try to scout out what my opponent is doing by going Protect with my Palafin as my opponent predicts my Protect and goes for Air Slash. Crits my Incineroar, but thankfully Incineroar is so bulky it does not go down. Eats the Citrus Berry and Parting Shot to lower my opponent's Charizard's offensive potential. Now, as I said, Hero from Palafin and Charizard, Mega Charizard Y are at a speed tie, so I do not risk the speed tie by going for Wave Crash. I go for Jet Punch because I know that even in the sun, Jet Punch is going to do so much damage. Charizard is brought down to very low health as Solar Beam is able to KO my Palafin. Yeah, Solar Beam comes through and Palafin goes down, but thankfully since we did not risk the speed tie and we do attack with Jet Punch, Darkest Lariat will be able to KO my opponent's Charizard, and so down goes my opponent's Charizard and we are able to defeat Shikiuro. So yeah, this was the battle and this was the video. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.